For decades, space has been viewed as a final frontier, a realm of scientific discovery and shared human ambition. From the first satellites to the International Space Station, nations have largely collaborated, pushing the boundaries of knowledge and technology together. However, the foundational systems that power our modern world have become inextricably linked to this orbital infrastructure. This growing dependence has quietly transformed the high ground of space from a scientific commons into a strategic arena. The question is no longer if humanity will compete in orbit, but how the systems we rely on daily would function if space became the new battlefield. This scenario does not begin with dramatic explosions or science fiction battles among the stars. Instead, it starts silently, with the targeted disruption of the unseen architecture that underpins global civilization. Our planet is wrapped in a delicate web of satellites, each performing a critical function: global positioning, financial transactions, weather forecasting, international communications. The militarization of space introduces a new vector of vulnerability. What happens when these vital nodes are no longer secure? The consequences extend far beyond the loss of a few assets, threatening to trigger a chain reaction that could destabilize the very operating system of our interconnected society. The reality is far more subtle and systemic. It would likely unfold not as a direct confrontation, but as a series of precise, debilitating attacks on infrastructure. These actions could involve electronic warfare, such as signal jamming, or more direct kinetic methods, like the creation of targeted debris fields. The goal would be to deny an adversary the use of their space-based assets, effectively blinding them and severing their connection to a globalized world. Unlike traditional warfare confined by geography, a conflict in orbit is inherently global, affecting every nation regardless of its involvement. The immediate and most visible consequence of a space conflict would be the degradation of global services we take for granted. Imagine the world's global navigation satellite systems being systematically disrupted. Air traffic control depends on precise timing and location. Forced to revert to radar-based methods, airspace capacity would be drastically reduced, thousands of flights grounded. The disruption cascades almost instantaneously into the global financial system. High-frequency trading depends on nanosecond-level timing from GPS. Without a universal clock, market integrity breaks down. Bank transactions, credit card authorizations, ATM networks, their financial ledgers thrown into chaos. Global shipping relies on GPS to navigate. With course plotting compromised, massive delays at ports would begin. Emergency responders lose primary coordination tools, and an information vacuum breeds misinformation. This is the realistic nature of a space war. Not a spectacular battle, but a quiet, systemic unraveling. A domino effect that's incredibly difficult to stop once it begins. The initial phase of a space conflict would not be announced with explosions, but with quiet, systemic failures that are at first indistinguishable from routine technical malfunctions. The first shots would likely be non-kinetic. Sophisticated electronic warfare platforms would begin by directing powerful beams of radio energy at satellites passing overhead. This act is known as uplink jamming. Simultaneously, a more widespread attack would target the signals coming down. For the end user, the effect would be immediate and disorienting. Another vector of attack would unfold in the digital domain. State-sponsored hackers would launch sophisticated cyber attacks aimed at the ground infrastructure that manages satellite constellations. A successful intrusion could allow an adversary to broadcast false data. Users on the ground would not see a loss of signal. Instead, their devices would confidently report a false position. This initial fog of war would make a decisive response difficult. Leaders would hesitate to escalate, unsure if they are facing a technical crisis or an act of aggression. The conflict would escalate to target the eyes of the world, the vast constellations of intelligence and Earth observation satellites. A direct method could be high-powered ground-based lasers to dazzle their sensitive optical sensors. The technique wouldn't destroy the satellite, but could permanently blind its camera, creating blind spots over geopolitical hotspots. Nations would lose the ability to monitor troop movements or verify compliance with treaties. That information vacuum increases mistrust and the risk of miscalculation. The civilian world would feel it too. Weather models would become less accurate. Hurricane tracks would have larger error margins, putting lives and property at greater risk. The shared reality built on objective satellite data would fracture. Losing this independent, verifiable truth lets regimes operate with more impunity. The economic consequences would cascade with terrifying speed. The world's commercial airline fleet would be largely grounded. The breakdown of navigation and financial systems would shatter just-in-time supply chains. Assembly lines for everything from automobiles to smartphones would fall silent as factories run out of parts. Electrical grids, synchronized using GPS time, would be forced to break into less efficient islands to maintain stability. Rolling blackouts would become common. The public's faith in the ability of government to provide for their basic safety would erode rapidly. The information ecosystem would become a casualty. A communication vacuum would open, quickly filled by rumors and misinformation. Food shortages and the breakdown of supply chains would trigger riots. Governments weakened and facing a crisis of legitimacy would struggle to maintain order. The long-term outcome of a space conflict is not decisive victory or defeat, but shared, irreversible loss. The most enduring consequence, a shell of high-velocity debris would effectively seal low Earth orbit. No new satellites, no human or robotic exploration of the solar system. The risk of launching any new satellite through the dense debris field would be unacceptably high. Humanity would be confined to its terrestrial cradle, staring up at a sky of glittering remnants of its own making. Economically, the world would settle into a protracted depression. The efficiency of just-in-time logistics would be replaced by costly stockpiling and localization. The very tools we have developed to be better stewards of our planet would be destroyed, leading to a less efficient, more wasteful, and more polluted world by default. A war for the high ground of space would ensure everyone is left standing on lower ground for a very, very long time. The sobering reality of this potential chain reaction underscores that the most effective mitigation strategy is not technological, but diplomatic and normative. This requires strengthening the fragile governance of orbit and designing resilience into our critical infrastructure on the ground. Fostering transparency and data sharing among all spacefaring actors is essential for building trust and preventing miscalculation. Ultimately, space is not a separate arena for conflict, but an integral extension of global society. A war, there is a war on the foundational operating system of modern life. The path forward requires a choice: to treat orbit as a battlefield, or to recognize it as a fragile, shared commons vital to everyone's future. The chains of consequence are clear. The decision to start pulling them remains ours to make. What scenario should we explore next? Share your ideas below. You've been watching IfVerse, where imagination meets possibility. See you in our next reality.